Hi, this is Megan Jacks, Creative Memories Independent Advisor, and today's video is going to show you the layout assembly with some design insights for sketch number 2 from the November 2020 Creative Memories virtual crop. If you'd like a copy of this sketch, head over to the Creative Memories blog and you'll find it under the November 2020 virtual crop sketch number 2. So taking a closer look at this sketch, it's got some great design elements. I'm really excited to see the chevrons. It is a 2-page layout and they have 4 horizontal photos. If you need to adjust this, there's lots of room to adjust this for additional photos. You could divide one of these or 2 of these horizontal photos in half and put 2 vertical. You could do just shift things all around in these design spaces. And I'll kind of show you what I mean as we put the pages together. So I'm going to be using the Winter Woods collection. It's a new collection from Creative Memories. And I've got some photos from a couple of years ago now when we accidentally had a tree fall on a little cabin that we have in the woods in northern Washington. So the Winter Woods is perfect. Even though there's no snow on the grounds, it was so bitter cold. So I'm going to give you some insight into what I was thinking with this layout. I really decided, I love this print. It is so beautiful with the trees and the kind of the foggy mist there, which is perfect for our, the area where we have our little cabin. So I wanted to use a section of like this here in the middle. So they'll be mirroring on either side. We'll have a section of this tree line. And then what's really great is there's this nice neutral on the back side that I thought, oh, that would be perfect for this center section that we'll build our chevron on. And then I said, well, while I'm already cutting this apart, I might as well make this one sheet work to do this entire page. So we're going to finish it off with another bit of this green tree paper. So I'm going to show you how to make the cuts. We're going to use a paper weld in order to kind of cut the piece apart, and then we're going to put it back together in the right combination. So to get started here, we're going to go ahead and build the page, and then I'll take you into building the chevrons to put on top. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to cut this paper into 3 sections. And once again, this works out great because I like both sides of the paper. So this first section I'm going to do, and I am cutting this with my tree paper up. And the reason is because this is a directional paper. I want to make sure these trees are nice and vertical. If I were to flip this over and I wasn't paying attention, maybe I would cut it here and then I would realize, oh my gosh, my trees are all wrong. So if you've got a directional paper that you need to make sure you cut with the correct direction, have that directional paper up towards you while making those cuts. So this first cut I'm going to do it at 3.5 inches. I want this piece here to be 3.5 inches wide. So I'm actually going to turn it upside down and cut it at 3.5 inches. And I'm just using my straight blade. So now I've got my 3.5 inches. And now this outside piece, I want to be 1.5 inches. So I have my pieces of paper. Now I'm going to cut at 1.5 inch. My first cut was at 3.5 inches. My next cut, I'm cutting on the opposite side at 1.5 inch. So now what I have here is I've got this nice detail going on. I'm going to go ahead and reassemble the page using the paper welding technique. This is a technique that I really like to use. I've shown it a couple times in videos, so I'm going to show you how quick and easy it is. I have a couple of 1/2 inch strips of white cardstock. It could be any color cardstock. I just happen to have lots of extra white, and I'm using regular adhesive, and I'm running it down the middle of the strip of cardstock. Now I'm going to take my left side piece, or the right side of the page, and I'm going to run it down the middle here. And I'm going to flip it around because I'm right-handed. This is non-directional, so it doesn't matter what direction this particular paper is going. And I'm just going to butt it right up against this other paper and get myself a nice tight seam. And then I'm going to go ahead and do my next one. If you are building directly on a Jeep album page, you wouldn't need to do this, or you could use a piece of just cardstock behind it. I do it this way because I use the top loading pocket pages, the 12 by 12 top loading pages. So I can just drop this right in. I don't need the extra bulk of a separate backing full sheet of cardstock. So here, I'm going to put my outside 1.5 inch piece on. You can see it's all set to go now. So I've done a pretty good job of mirroring their base, the basic page here. I've got this center piece, or this piece that goes to the center of the 2-page layout. I've got a middle lighter section that I'm going to build my chevron on. And then I've got a piece over here that is for the outside edge. So what I'm going to do here is real quick, I'm going to attach, I decided since it was woodsy that I was going to use my branch border punch. And I have 2 pieces of the branch border punch here. I have one in the rich brown, and then I have another one in it's kind of a tan color, I believe is either mocha or maybe espresso from the 2019 cardstock sampler pack. So I'm going to grab my repositionable adhesive and I'm going to put it on. I want my darker branch to be on front. I'm using the lighter branch to be the shadow. I'm just going to lay this out here. And I'm going to put it on over here. You can see that looks really nice. I love that. I love the branch punch going vertical. I've used it a few times that way, and I don't know, it looks really, really nice. Covers up that seam. And I'm all set to go there. Now, the next thing I need to build is I need to build my chevron. And that is really easy to do. I actually did a video yesterday, or the day before, earlier this week, showing you how to do these chevrons. Real easy, real consistent, and we're going to use that same process with the little template on the rotary trimmer so that we can get some nice, even, consistent chevrons. So one thing though is I want to talk a little bit about the papers that I chose. So I really, really like this dark green that kind of has, it's a light tan, almost seems golden when you're first looking at it. This real texture, nice texture to it. So I looked at the other side and oh, it's lovely. It's got this wonderful wood rounds on it. And so that's a nice contrast. That would look really good next to each other. So that works perfect because I can use this one sheet. I can use both sides. That works out great. Then I went through and I was like, okay, I have a dark green. I want a medium tone. So there's some decent contrast in here with this kind of plaid medium green tone. And I check out what's on the other side. It's got a wood tone to it. So I said, oh, that'll be nice because what I can actually do is I'll be able to come in and use these lighter colors to separate between the green tones. So I'm going to go ahead and trim 2 inches from each of these. So I have 2-inch strips. Here's the 2-inch strip that I've got for the dark green. And I've already cut a 2-inch strip off of the plaid, and I've already made my chevrons from that. So I've got those over here in a pile just waiting. So now we're going to go ahead and make the chevrons with my 2-inch piece of designer paper. So I'm going to grab my 12-inch trimmer. And the first thing I need to do is I need to fold my paper in half. And I'm going to start the fold by hand. And then I'm going to open up my trimmer, and I'm going to use the bottom edge of this trimmer. Here you can see I'm going to line it up here at the bottom, and I'm going to use that to kind of help give me that nice edge to kind of push my paper up against as I'm making this fold. I tried using the scoring blade. I found sometimes if I was a little bit off, it made my chevrons a little bit off kilter. So I find this hand folding using the edge of the trimmer gets me a nice even. Don't rush this part. Take time to get it as even as you can. So I've got a nice even fold. And then I have a jig that I created, or a template. It's a cardboard template that I have created for my trimmer, and it allows me to stay nice and tight against that 45-degree line without having to constantly refigure out where I am. So if you're curious to how I made this, go ahead and check out my video called, I think it's called Easy Chevron Border, and just watch the first part of it because you're going to see how I made this little cardboard template. It's super easy to do. So I am going to go ahead and I'm going to be making, once again, I'm going to make 1/2-inch chevrons. That's the same size I used in the Easy Chevron Border. And it works out really nice. It's a nice size. So I'm going to go ahead. I've lined up here the folded edge against my cardboard template. And I'm going to go ahead and start. And I'm going to line, so I'm going to come up to the 1/2-inch, which is the first printed line to the right side. Make sure you stay nice and snug against the template. That's what it's there for. And then just keep working your way up the line. And I think you get about 15 pieces. You're going to want to go ahead and do the slices all the way down. If it seems like you're having to do too much, you can make these wider. Instead of doing the 1/2-inch, you could come up and all the way to the 3/4 inch mark. You could do 1 inch. You can play around with it a little. You can vary them so they don't all have to be the same width. You can use other pieces of paper and get even more pattern options. I just happen to like both sides of these papers, so I'm going to have 4 patterns in my chevron. You can have more or less. Just keep going. I just keep forming this little pile off to the side. Almost done. These last few ones you just need to make sure you take your time to do. They're a little harder because you're running out of paper. I think this is going to be my last chevron. This last one is kind of hard because that trimmer. There we go. Okay, so now I've got a pile. I've got 2 piles of chevrons. I have the pile of the dark green with the wood rounds. And over here, I have a pile of the plaid with the wood tone on the other side. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to grab my paper here. This is my my left side page. So I need to build a chevron down the line. Now to do this, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab my trimmer mat. And I want to go ahead and I'm going to set with the 6-inch line, I'm going to set a center. So I need the chevrons, they're 2 inches wide. So I'm going to place my first one and I'm going to place it and figure out where that 6 inches. And I'm a little wide, I'm going to bring it over. I need to make sure I can clear all my little branches down the side. And I think I like that. So I'm going to start, it looks like roughly 6 inch over here. So I am marked up against, we're going to go all the way over here to 8 7/8 from the right hand side. I'm going to bring it back. We're going to try there. And I'm going to use my repositionable adhesive because that way if I need to move anything around, I can. I'm going to start off with the dark green. I'm going to start off a little bit off the page. And then the next one I'm going to do a quick dry fit. I don't have a lot of contrast in this light wood tone, but I do need to make sure that I keep track of. I want to keep I like that. That's going to work just fine. So I'm going to do the dark green and then the wood tone. And I'm going to go with right around, that looks to be about a 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch between the two chevrons. So I'm just going to keep building. That first one's hard to tell because there's not much contrast. And the next one is going to be the wood round. And then I need my dark green again. And just keep working my way down the middle, the side here. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab my ruler. I'm going to check to make sure that I am staying on course. In fact, I think I'm going to leave my ruler right there. I'm lined up here at 5 inches and I'm coming down here. So I'm at 7, which means I'm correct across. It says 5 here at the top, but it's marked 7 at the bottom. And I'm going to use this to help me set and so that I don't start to drift off one direction or the other. Next up is the lighter wood. And I can tell I was already starting to veer off a little bit. Trying to place that one to right the ship was a little bit more of a challenge. This next one is the get back in there and get that straight. Now I'm back to the wood round. And you just keep working your way down the line. Now I have a lot of photos from the tree falling situation. It was actually kind of a humorous situation. We thankfully weren't there when it fell, but it was pretty crazy how it fell down. It was a dead tree that fell. And Thankfully, nobody was hurt or anything like that. So we did have to have it removed, but it was a pretty precarious little situation that that tree found itself into. So I have a lot of photos to share in here with this layout, but the layout itself doesn't have a lot of photos. It just has the 4 horizontal photos. So I'm actually going to eventually build a 12 by, I'm going to build it actually an 8.5 by 11 middle insert that I'm going to put in to showcase more of the photos that I have from that day. So that'll be a lot of fun to do as kind of a complimentary layout for the event. So what I'm focusing on today is I'm just kind of a fun, really neat looking design that's going to be a little bit lighter on photos, and I'll make up for that with a center layout, that special edition. I'm also going to be using some peekaboo pockets, so those will be coming up here in a minute. I'm almost done. I'm almost down to the bottom, and I feel like I've missed one. I did. I messed up. That's what I get for talking. I forgot to put a wood round in. So I'm going to insert this wood round. Repositionable is your best friend when working with chevrons. I'm going to pull this out, and now I can put in the dark green and then follow that with the light wood. I think I've got just a couple more to go in here. And I'm going to end it there for right now. So I mentioned that I have some photos to put in here. So I'm going to be using peekaboo pockets on here, and I decided to go with, because I'm using peekaboo pockets, I need to stick with the 4:6 ratio. So I went ahead, and these mats are 4.5 by 6.5. And I will actually have, this photo will be on the top here, but I decided that it didn't stick out quite enough. It didn't stand out from that dark green mat. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use some of that tan color. That's just a real thin, it's about 1/8 of an inch bigger. So 4 1/8 by 6 1/8 or so. And then that will get mounted to the green cardstock. And so it just has that nice fine line around there to pop it a little bit more. And I will have this photo will go on here, and I've already got that tan mat put on. So these will be my 2 photos, and I have peekaboo pockets all set to go. And I'm going to hide my journaling in one of the peekaboo pockets. So when it pops up, it's going to have the journaling on the underside. So I have another photo to go in the peekaboo pocket. I have to think about it, put my flap down, and it's going to lift up. So my photo needs to go in like this. It will sit on top of my page protector there. And so now if we take a peek back at the sketch, I've got a half circle element or a partial circle element. So I've gone ahead and I punched it with the, oh my gosh, this was the spiky evergreen or spiky green border maker cartridge. I'm going to turn it around here. And so I'm going to put that there. They have it overlapping, but since I have a peekaboo pocket, I can't do that. I'm going to leave it off to the side like that. And then I'm going to go ahead, I think, put on a couple of pine cones because they're fun. And then it does have a little title detail or a space that you could put a word or title there. So I'm going to go ahead and do something similar. I haven't decided on a title yet, but I'm going to go ahead and I'll put something down about here or so, bringing down that pine cone detail there as well. And I'll just adjust these a little bit so my spacing is better. And you can kind of see how that's taking shape. So I'm going to take a quick pause. I'm going to put together the other paper. I'm going to put the chevron on the other page. And so we'll come back here and I'll show you what it looks like when I've got it all put together. So I'm back. You can see that I've gone ahead and I've set up my chevron on the other side. I will note that I ran into a little bit of a hiccup here at the bottom. The way the order in which I did them, I was short one of my medium green plaid. So I just went ahead and put my final chevron, which was the dark green with the wood rounds here at the bottom. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. Nobody's going to pay attention to that. So you can see here, I've got the overall layout done. I just have a couple of final images to put on and we'll be all set to go. The one thing I will point out here is this is where, when I was mentioned earlier in the video, where I said you have a lot of space to be able to do some different things. So you wouldn't necessarily have to use the horizontal images that they recommend. You could put vertical images. I've got my pine cones here, so they're making it hard to see how like really wide you have. You have a nice, I'm not sure if that's close to 7 inches there. And you can make adjustments to the width here if you wanted to put vertical images there. So here's the final two, or the final image on, so you can get an idea of the overall layout. I did use the spiky evergreen here. I did it on a round using the jumbo circle. If you want to learn how to do that, make sure you check out my infinity chain video. It's the same technique. It is a border maker cartridge, so it would be the same technique as the infinity chain to make the spiky evergreen in the round, so you can have the swag there in the corners. So we'll take a quick peek back at the sketch. Here's the sketch that Creative Memories gave us. I did stick pretty true to the sketch for this one. It's almost a literal interpretation of it. I am not using the journal box in this corner because I will be using a peekaboo pocket here that has the journaling. I'll put the journaling there. So I hope you've enjoyed. I hope you have a chance to give it a try, and I look forward to crafting with you soon. Thanks.